exotic origin, all spacecraft if you will, all spacecraft if you will, no kidding, non-human, exotic origin, all spacecraft if you will, all spacecraft if you will, non-human, 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 all spacecraft if you will, all spacecraft if you will, non-human, non-human, Grusch, we have a spacecraft, 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 spacecraft from another species, spacecraft from another species, spacecraft from another species, spacecraft from another species, spacecraft, 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 spacecraft.
My boss got the email, he forwarded it to me, and he's like, do you want to do this? And I thought, well, I guess I was kind of the right guy that was chosen to do this thing, I guess. But maybe it was like a joke or something. Maybe it was like a psyop on me or something. I don't even know.
Do you want a chocolate?
It's not true. That's a lie. So there are Foya-able back and forths between Kirkpatrick and David Grusch that will become public. I have seen them. As of the time of my departure, none, let me repeat, none of the conspiracy-minded, in quote, whistleblowers in the public eye had elected to come to AARO to provide their, quote, evidence and statement for the record, despite numerous invitations. So let's just take David Grusch. Is that true? It's not true. That's a lie. So there are Foya-able back and forths between Kirkpatrick and David Grusch that will become public. I have seen them.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you, and I'm wondering what it is I should do. It's so hard to keep the smile from my face. Losing control, yeah, I'm all over the place. Oh, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Well, you started out with nothing, and you're proud that you're a self-made man. And your friends, they all come crawling, slap you on the back and say, please, please, oh please. Trying to make some sense of it all, but I can see that it makes no sense at all. Is it cool to go to sleep on the floor? And I don't think I could take anymore. Oh, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Oh. to me. Joggers to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. On or about in June of 2023, a former Air Force and a former Air Force and intelligence officer, his name is David Grusch, came forward with some startling allegations claiming that the United States government was in possession of alien spacecraft, even bodies or occupants of some of those craft, which he called biologics, came with some of those spacecraft. And so we have been covering this story since it began. And what I can tell you, having been closely covering this story since on or about June 5th of 2023, is that the longer this story goes on, we get some startling revelations, essentially a web of manipulation, lies, deceit, and outright fabrications used to create this story. People are familiar with my countdown. We are now up to 318 days that Mr. Grusch has been making these out of this world claims. 318 days of fantastic claims of aliens and crash retrievals and crash retrieval programs and alien bodies and government cover-ups. There's just one problem. We're at 318 days since he made his original claims, and he has yet to provide a single shred of actual verifiable proof or evidence of any of his claims. Now, early on when I began digging into this, I recognized that there were some red flags, and we even did a show titled Early Red Flags about Dave Grusch. One of the huge red flags is that David Grusch was very closely associated with people that I can only describe as less than credible promoters of alien and UFO stories. After all, the original person who brought us the Dave Grusch story or big interview is a man named Ross Coulthart, who is a disgraced Australian journalist who has been caught selling numerous 100% provably fake stories before. And I get that people really want to believe Dave Grusch. It's a compelling story. It's an amazing story if it were true. However, I just don't understand people that don't see that the people bringing us this story are all less than credible, disgraced journalists, clickbait merchants of garbage, fake disinformation, misinformation, and more. I mean, isn't it relevant that all the people selling this story have virtually all been involved or caught selling completely and totally provably fake alien and UFO stories before? But I suppose it was because of his impressive credentials that people were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I ask you, how long do you give this man the benefit of the doubt? We're up to 318 days, and he's still shown zero evidence of his claims. But we do have some more red flags in the form of the AARO historical report. Dave Grusch himself, he claimed that he had, remember there's 40 whistleblowers that he talked to. So Grusch himself admitted that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the office at AARO, the government's UFO program, had interviewed 30 of the 40 or so people that he had spoken to. But isn't it interesting then that the AARO report systematically destroys, debunks, and obliterates 30 out of the 40 people's claims as being evidence-free, self-licking ice cream cone stories, secondhand hearsay, people mistaking things like somebody touching the shell of an F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter somehow turns into he touched the shell of an alien vehicle in possession of the United States government. And certainly a red flag is that all of the same people who sold us 100% provably fake narratives about UFOs and aliens before, people like Lou Elizondo, the fake Pentagon UFO program director, were very closely associated with David Grusch. And of course, Christopher Mellon, who was also involved with fake Pentagon program director Lou Elizondo in allegedly defrauding investors out of millions of dollars for the TTSA effort, which promised everybody a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world. All of that turned out to be lies. And in fact, the entire 2017 forward false narrative, UAP threat narrative, has been largely proven to be a completely and totally false narrative. So isn't it a red flag that David Grusch is closely associated with all those people who pushed a completely and totally fake narrative on the public before in order, I suppose, to personally profit? After all, after lying to the New York Times, Lou Elizondo went on to get book deals and documentary film deals and speaking fees and television show deals, all based on fake facts and false information. This should be relevant and concerning to all of us. And the fact that Mr. Grusch is so closely associated with all these people who have been provably caught selling all these fake stories should be a red flag to everyone involved. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Mr. Grusch is not a whistleblower. Whistleblowers are people like Edward Snowden, or Chelsea Manning, people who drop their evidence regardless of NDAs or classified things. They drop their evidence, and they, unfortunately, real whistleblowers have consequences. The only consequences Dave Grusch has apparently encountered is that all of his UFO grifting, alien promoting scumbag friends have collectively made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars off of pushing this poor man into the spotlight. By the way, I'll put on the record again, I believe that Dave Grusch is being manipulated by this same false narrative people who brought us the UAP threat narrative and the TTSA techno scam. It's all the same people. And of course, the Skinwalker scam people. They are all directly involved in this Grusch story, either as sources for him or, talking him up. Christopher Mellon, of course, has been called the puppet master of the false UAP UFO threat narrative. And we can, it's on the record, we can confirm that Christopher Mellon is essentially David Grusch's handler. Christopher Mellon, who was a part of the TTSA, what has been alleged to be a techno scam with fake Pentagon UFO program Lou Elizondo, apparently he controls who Dave Grusch is allowed to speak to. He controls who Dave Grusch is allowed to give interviews to. And we have at least one verifiable source of that in the form of Dark Journalist, who essentially Grusch confirmed to Dark Journalist, I'd love to do your show, but I can't because Christopher Mellon will be mad at me. Now, thanks to John from the Black Vault. By the way, God bless John from the Black Vault. To anybody who discounts the Foya process, I believe that John from the Black Vault has added more clarity and cleared up so much of the lies, deceptions, manipulations, half-truths, disinformation, fake information, misinformation through his tenacity at filing hundreds of these Foya requests. So, thanks to John from the Black Vault. By the way, his article, which we'll be sharing tonight, is in the description of this video. Incredible work that John does to bring clarity and essentially to call bullshit on some of these people. So for those unaware, there's been this false narrative within this other false narrative. There's been this false narrative that, AARO never reached out to Dave Grusch at all. And in fact, there's an on-the-record statement, I believe it's from October 23rd, where he says, I've gotten no calls and no emails from AARO or Sean Kirkpatrick, which technically may be true because the first email he got was the very next week. But we can show you, and we will show you tonight, that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and AARO certainly reached out to people close to Dave Grusch, requesting his contact information, requesting he contact their office, requesting he do an interview. They even scheduled an interview with him, and he no-showed. He just didn't show up to an interview that he agreed to and scheduled. He left AARO representatives waiting in a lobby for over 30 minutes. And these emails we're going to share with you tonight confirm all of this. So what we have is a false narrative, another one from the same people that brought us previous false narratives. Now this false narrative is all crashing down. And we have shown you at the beginning, of course, David Grusch is closely associated with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who sold us a completely fake story about a convicted pimp fake scientist who pretended to be a government insider. So it's so shady. This whole world is so shady and scammy. Sometimes I feel like I need a shower just after digesting the shady lies and half-truths and disinformation and misinformation. These are some shady people. These are not honest people. So I've written a bit of an intro to tonight's broadcast. If you're just joining us, welcome. Whether you're joining us from our Twitch feed, our YouTube feed, our Facebook Live feeds, or our Twitter feed, welcome one and all. So in recent years, friends, the discourse surrounding alleged extraterrestrial phenomenon has been inundated with absolutely sensational claims. And these claims are often lacking empirical evidence or even any evidence and critical scrutiny. One prominent figure in this arena, of course, is Dave Grusch, who has made bold claims and assertions regarding aliens, crash retrievals, and the possession of alien bodies by the United States government. But we here have been critically examining Grusch's claims, and we've been highlighting his penchant for accepting anecdotal accounts without substantiating evidence. Furthermore, here on this show, we began tonight's broadcast with a sort of montage of some of our previous coverage of Dave Grusch, the lies, the fabrications, the half-truths, the manipulation of available data. We have been critically examining his claims. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do if somebody claims sensational things and just outright refuses to provide any evidence. Now, there's been a great deal of excuses given by supporters for David Grusch about why he can't show us any evidence. One of the first excuses was, well, that's classified. But no, it isn't, because the Pentagon Office of Pre-Publication cleared him to talk about alien bodies, alien spaceships, alien crash retrievals, which means that none of that is classified. He could give more evidence and details if he chooses to. He just refuses to, deciding, like Lou Elizondo before him, to hide behind that's classified or my NDAs. We also saw in the historical AARO report that there are no UAP or UFO specific NDAs. None. So, no evidence whatsoever has been put forth by Dave Grusch so far. But we have explored the rebuttal provided by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the AARO report, which certainly challenges Grusch's claims and underscores the dangers of unsubstantiated conspiracy thinking. Moreover, it emphasizes Grusch's failure to provide credible evidence to support his claims, which raises questions about the integrity of all of his assertions. In the realm of ufology and extraterrestrial phenomena, claims often transcend the boundaries of empirical evidence and are faith-based, leading to a proliferation of conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated claims. David Grusch, who has suddenly become a very prominent figure in this field, has garnered a great deal of attention for his bold claims regarding aliens, crash retrievals, and the possession of alien bodies by the United States government. However, upon closer examination, all of Grusch's claims appear to be rooted more in speculative storytelling and secondhand stories he's heard than in actual empirical evidence. Since the beginning of this story, I have sought to critically evaluate Grusch's claims, and we have, to the best of my ability, been highlighting the lack of evidence and the dangers of embracing conspiracy thinking without proper scrutiny. David Grusch has purportedly made numerous claims regarding extraterrestrial phenomenon. And one of the cases that he put forth has been proven to be a complete and total fake story, which should be another red flag. His claims have included assertions about alien encounters, crash retrievals of UFOs, and of course, the possession of alien bodies by the United States government. These claims, while captivating, lack substantive evidence to support them. Grusch apparently has relied heavily on anecdotal accounts and hearsay. In other words, stories people told him. And he failed to provide any empirical evidence to substantiate his extraordinary claims or the claims of people influencing him. Interestingly, the AARO report essentially destroyed and debunked many of the claims of the people that David Grusch has spoken to and got his information from. And moreover, Grusch's willingness to accept stories without critical scrutiny raises real questions about the reliability and the veracity of his claims. One of the most glaring deficiencies in Grusch's claims is the absence of any real evidence. And despite making sensational claims about aliens and government cover-ups, Grusch, for 318 days now, has failed to provide tangible evidence to support his claims. Instead, he has relied on stories, accounts, and testimonies from individuals whose credibility remains extremely questionable. Remember that some of these people that he's talking to and getting this information from are people who have provably told some porkies, let's say. And, you know, we've got Eric Davis essentially claiming the very same things to the New York Times several years ago, never proving any of those claims. So this reliance on what I call wackadoos telling stories and on hearsay, it severely undermines the integrity of Grusch's claims and highlights the danger of accepting extraordinary claims without proper evidence and investigation. Now, as far as Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the AARO report, I get it. Many of you have sent me messages like, do you really believe the government, Stephen? No. I'm aware that the government lies to us. However, so far, I can't find a single instance in which anybody can prove that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick or AARO lied to the American public. But that hasn't stopped people from creating conspiracy theories claiming that Dr. Kirkpatrick and AARO are all part of the cover-up, and that's why Dave Grusch wouldn't go and give his evidence. But, you know, the more that we scrutinize this entire thing, the worse Grusch and his supporters look. As far as Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, in responses to Grusch's extraordinary claims and the proliferation of unsubstantiated conspiracy theories, Dr. Kirkpatrick and AARO released a comprehensive report challenging the validity of these assertions and challenging the validity of the stories that people were telling Dave Grusch. The AARO report meticulously, and I thought beautifully, scrutinizes Grusch's claims and the testimonies provided by individuals who have allegedly encountered some form of extraterrestrial phenomenon, spaceships, or bodies. Through his rigorous analysis and investigation, Dr. Kirkpatrick and his team at AARO debunk many of the myths perpetrated by Grusch and prove that Grusch is getting his evidence from people that we should not just trust because they say something. And this, of course, underscores the importance of evidence-based inquiry when evaluating extraordinary claims. And I believe there's some real dangers in this form of conspiracy thinking, because Grusch's propensity for embracing conspiracy thinking without seeing actual evidence, remember, he hasn't seen any of this stuff himself, it truly underscores the dangers inherent in such faith-based, evidence-free belief systems. By perpetrating unsubstantiated and unprovable claims and fostering a culture of distrust in authoritative institutions, individuals like Grusch are actually contributing to the erosion of rational discourse and critical thinking. The proliferation of conspiracy theories can have real-world consequences. We have covered this here. People have literally killed people close to them because they got too far down this rabbit hole of conspiracy and nonsense. Of course, this also fuels paranoia and undermines the public trust in real and legitimate sources of information. So we're at 318 days, friends, and Grusch has failed to provide any evidence of his claims. Despite the passage of almost a year since making his initial claims, David Grusch has yet to provide credible evidence to substantiate his assertions. This failure to produce any evidence casts doubt on all of his claims and calls into question Dave Grusch and his ability to discern when people are telling him the truth from when people are lying to him. In the absence of tangible or real evidence, Grusch's assertions remain nothing more than speculation or mythology, devoid of any empirical support. David Grusch's alleged extraterrestrial claims exemplify the dangers of embracing conspiracy theories without empirical evidence. Grusch, by relying on anecdotal accounts and secondhand stories and hearsay, Grusch fails to meet any standard of evidence-based inquiry essential for rational discourse. The rebuttal provided by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the AARO report highlights the importance of critical scrutiny in evaluating these claims about alien spaceships and more. Moving forward, it's imperative that claims of extraterrestrial visitation be subjected to rigorous empirical investigation, free from the trappings of unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. So I truly believe that I know why Dave Grusch has done everything he can to evade and avoid going into AARO and well, I apologize, friends. We're in a new studio here, and some bugs are still to be worked out. By the way, I just want to make a note. I got several pretty nasty messages because apparently, yeah, I'm human, and I made a mistake in last night's broadcast. For those unaware, you have to click end stream twice in order to end a stream. I clicked the end stream once. As I recall, I terribly had to go to the bathroom really bad. Didn't click it twice. And so there was a still image up for over an hour. I will fix that when I get a chance. I'm probably not going to fix it in the video that's already up from last night's broadcast, but I will fix it for the audio podcast because obviously an hour of silence is not good. And hey, listen, I apologize, but I do want to just say, you know, we are a live show. You get it, warts and all. Sometimes technical problems happen. This happens all the time to other shows as well. So I apologize for that. But if you were so offended, like you should see some of the comments I got. Like, oh my God, how could you make such an amateur hour mistake? And like, calm down. Okay, so back to Grusch. I believe that I know exactly why David Grusch has done everything he could to purposefully evade and avoid talking to AARO. And that, my friends, is because remember that all these people are friends. All the people feeding Grusch this information, Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, many others, they're all friends. They all know each other. And so some of the same people that were telling Grusch these stories decided to go and testify to AARO. And AARO essentially ripped their stories to shreds. Are we so naive that we don't believe or think that that got back to Grusch? Why would he not avoid that office, who just destroyed all of the stories that he was told as being not true or not verifiable, right? I just don't, I don't understand why people, you know, I get it, that people are making all kinds of excuses. Well, Grusch didn't trust AARO, or AARO doesn't have the authority to view some of the classified information. We're going to get into all of that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And luckily, John from the Black Vault has provided us with a great roadmap that we can look through to see that this false narrative that we're being fed is not what it appears to be. Remember, 1 second here. I got to get this bigger. For those unaware, I'm visually impaired, so sometimes I have real trouble reading things. We got to blow it up big, but I'm doing that right now. So let's get into the excuses. The excuses that the Grusch supporters give is that Dave Grusch can't give us evidence because the evidence is classified. That excuse falls apart because DOPSR, the Office of Pre-Publication of the Pentagon, cleared Dave Grusch to speak about alien bodies, alien crash retrievals, alien crash retrieval programs. Therefore, none of that is classified. That excuse falls apart quickly. Then there was the urgent and credible lie. That was a shell game, you know, like 3-card Monte or the shell game that hustlers on the street, look here, don't look here. For months and months, people lied, including Ross Coulthard and Jeremy Corbell and others lied and said that the Intelligence Community Inspector General found David Grusch's claims urgent and credible. No, he didn't. Not his alien claims. No, he didn't. Not his spaceship claims. No, he didn't. See, the Office of the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community deems all complaints of retaliation or reprisals to be urgent and credible and worthy of investigation. These people are playing games with words in order to convince you that David Grusch's stories must be true because the Intelligence Community Inspector General found them urgent and credible. We detailed here, the Intelligence Community Inspector General is not now, nor did they ever, investigate his alien claims, UFO claims, alien body claims, or any of that. And in fact, there's a public statement from the Intelligence Community Inspector General asserting that. They're only investigating his claims of waste, fraud, and abuse and reprisals. That's it. Full stop. So that excuse falls apart. Now we get another excuse in the form of, why won't David Grusch go to AARO? Oh, AARO doesn't have the appropriate ability to view or be given classified information. That is completely and totally false statement. And we have that here, courtesy of John from the Black Vault, because from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, there's a letter which blows that excuse to shit. That is just a complete and total lie. Oh, I shared the wrong thing. See? 1 second, we'll get it here. We will get it. I have to share it from my image viewer to make it big enough for my half-blind self to read. That's weird. All right, it doesn't matter. I could share it. 1 second. I will share it. I will share my screen to Twitter, but I will be reading from my image here. And by the way, you should follow me on Twitter and follow John from the Black Vault at blackvault.com. So this letter is interesting because this letter comes from David W. Abba, who is the Major General, United States Air Force, and he's the director of the Department of Defense Special Access Program, Central Office. So here's where it gets interesting. Representatives of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, are authorized to speak to persons and or conduct interviews of persons that currently have or previously had access to sensitive U.S. government information, activities, or materials. Individuals with current or previous access to unidentified aerial phenomenon-related information, which is subject to U.S. government non-disclosure agreement, are authorized to provide this otherwise protected information to AARO representatives. In other words, Grusch can go to AARO and tell them anything. They're authorized to hear and deal with anything, secret, classified, or otherwise. AARO personnel are authorized to receive this information pursuant to Section 1673 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023. The provision of UAP-related information, which is subject to non-disclosure agreement to AARO personnel, constitutes an authorized disclosure if the information is provided and received for limited purposes of conducting AARO's assigned mission as specified. AARO representatives will conduct any conversation, interview, or disclosure of U.S. government sensitive information by an individual only within appropriate secure spaces and handled in accordance with regulations applicable to the alleged classification level of potentially sensitive information discussed. That is, if the individual providing the information indicates that he/she believes the information to be shared is classified top secret, special access required, the AARO representatives will handle the information in accordance with such a level at intake and until the classification can be determined. 4, persons in contact with or interviewed by AARO representatives are advised that they are to continue safeguarding classified and sensitive information in accordance with U.S. law and the terms of any applicable non-disclosure agreement. An individual's authorized disclosure of sensitive information to AARO representatives, as outlined in this memorandum, in no way impacts that individual's responsibility to protect and safeguard classified information from unauthorized disclosure. So what we have here is a permission slip. We have a total permission slip here. We have a permission slip from the Department of Defense for people like Dave Grusch to be able, without consequence or prosecution or any retaliation, they're able to go to AARO and tell them virtually anything. So the excuses given by David Grusch for why he won't go to AARO, they all fall apart. We're at 318 days, and all we've gotten from Dave Grusch is excuses, obfuscation, manipulation, and I believe outright lies. Interesting that there's a permission slip right here. David Grusch or anybody else can go to AARO and talk about any classified program or special access program, even if they signed an NDA, even if it's classified, they can go to AARO and give them that information. And yet, David Grusch has done everything he can to evade and avoid going to AARO. And I believe it's exactly what I said. Now, I freely admit this is speculation, but imagine, let's place ourselves in the shoes of David Grusch. 40 people came to you, some of them high-ranking government people, and told you all of this information about aliens and alien crash retrievals and bodies recovered and alien spaceships in the possession of the United States government, or alien spaceships being back engineered, alien technology. Imagine being David Grusch, and 40 of those people came to you and told you all this stuff, and you essentially burned your career so that you could bring this information public or whatever, become a disclosure warrior. And then you found out that 30 of those 40 people already went to AARO, and AARO systematically debunked and picked apart all of their stories as not credible or not true. Would you want to go to AARO with, what are you going to go with? The remaining 10 people that told you fairy tales? So it's no surprise that David Grusch has done everything he could. And I'm hesitant to say this, but I will. I have a source that has been correct about everything that they have told me. A great many of some of our coverage was tipped off to me by this source. And this source essentially told me that word got back to David Grusch and the people that I suppose Stephen Greenstreet calls the spooky hustlers. Word got back. Once AARO started interviewing all these people and debunking their fake stories, word got back to that group of spooky hustlers, as Stephen Greenstreet described them. The same group of people that sold us the Skinwalker scam, the Hal Putoffs, the Eric Davis, the Christopher Mellons, the Lou Elizondos, the Jeremy Corbells and George Knapps, and these interviews that AARO were conducting were intense with some of these people, and they systematically went through their claims and proved most of them to be false or misidentifications, or they got it wrong, they misinterpreted. Somebody, for example, like I said before, somebody touched the shell of an F-117 Nighthawk. Somehow that got turned into he touched the shell of an alien spaceship. So once AARO started going through the claims of some of the very same people that made these claims to David Grusch and destroying them, ripping them apart, word got back to the spooky hustlers that these guys at AARO, if you go in there, they want evidence, right? And so it's no surprise to me that suddenly AARO became vilified. Suddenly AARO was the bad guy. Why? Because they want you to actually back up what you're claiming. They're the bad guy because they expect people making extraordinary claims to have some kind of proof. I don't think they're the bad guy here. I really don't. And by and large, yes, I don't trust the government and what they tell me to be truthful, but I've seen no reason to disbelieve. And in fact, we've seen more and more reasons to trust Kirkpatrick and AARO. They've not been caught selling fake alien UFO stories, but yet all of these spooky hustlers have. And that is extremely problematic. It's not a good day to be in a UFO cult today. And by the way, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. A lie requires your participation. The truth doesn't require you to participate. So what we have here in the form of some of these Grusch supporters is just unhinged lunacy. We're at 318 days and there's no evidence. But there is evidence that all the people that gave David Grusch this information are wackadoos that have no evidence of their claims. So, you know, I just don't know what to say. We're going to get into the Black Vault story, which I think really, really puts another nail in the coffin of this evidence-free, almost 1 year long story. Fantastical stories of aliens and crash retrievals and bodies. However, no evidence, right? Isn't that a problem that we're at almost a year? You know, and I have people telling me, well, just because you can't see the evidence, Stephen, doesn't mean that there's no evidence. Come on, man. How long, and I'm serious here, like, how long are these excuses for David Grusch not showing any evidence of his claims? How long are these excuses going to last? Are we going to get another year of people beating this dead Grusch story, right? And of course, there's already people trying to spin these Foya documents as some kind of a win. This is not a win. And also, by the way, we want to make sure we put on the record that Jeremy Corbell lied to everybody, claiming that the emails will prove that Dave Grusch reached out and tried to give his evidence. No. We're going to show you the timeline, Jeremy Corbell, you scumbag liar. And that's another, isn't that a red flag that scumbag liar Jeremy Corbell is selling this story? That should be a red flag to anybody familiar with Corbell's abysmal track record of being caught selling completely and totally fake stories. But hey, and by the way, we reached out for comment about all the lies, apparently, and these Foya documents. No, we didn't. But Cosmic Judas did. And for once, I'm happy to report, sometimes Jeremy Corbell can get it right. So he finally got it right for once, friends.
I think it's fair to say that we have entered a new era, a troubling new era.
David Grusch is a piece of dog shit. David Grusch is a liar, and he's lying to the American public.
Go for it.
Yeah, be myself, you always say, right? Total fucking horse shit. And David Grusch is a piece of dog shit. There was literally nothing scientific about it, nor was it American.
He finally got it right. So, for those unaware, there has been this false narrative that Grusch and his supporters have put out that, he wanted to give his evidence to AARO and all this stuff. No, he's done everything he could to make excuses, evade, and avoid AARO. Instead, claiming that he's giving his evidence to congressional staffers or to members of Congress. And yeah, he did give some kind of 11-hour testimony in which congressional staffers walked away saying that he was not a credible witness. So who knows? But The situation that Grusch is in is that he's done everything he could to avoid the office whose job it is to investigate his claims. He's made excuses. Oh, you guys don't have the clearance. We've shown you that letter. They're cleared to hear anything. Grusch refused to go to them, right? And boy, what an incredible development in this story, thanks to John from the Black Vault. Shout out to John from the Black Vault, because this, I think this should bring some clarity. I really am curious about some of you Grusch believers, and really no harm, no foul. Like, can't we talk about this? Like, and have a respectful conversation. But how do you guys think that you're getting the truth out of people that keep getting caught lying, right? And keep getting caught selling fake stories? How are you getting disclosure or the truth from people who are proven liars? I don't understand. So, by John Greenwald, Foya documents reveal AARO's authorized and repeated attempts to engage with David Grusch. And so, for those unaware, Kirkpatrick made a statement. He made a statement that none of the so-called whistleblowers, and he said he reached out to them, would come in and show their evidence to his office. And people called him a liar for that. Well, this great piece by John from the Black Vault proves that Sean Kirkpatrick was telling the truth. The All-Domain Resolution Office, AARO, tasked to investigate unidentified anomalous phenomenon, made numerous attempts to interview UFO whistleblower David Grusch regarding his claims of U.S. government engagement with extraterrestrial materials and technologies. These new documents were just released to the Black Vault in Foya case 24-F-0266, which was filed November 2nd, 2023. And they outline not only the timeline of events to contact Grusch, but numerous text messages and emails. The following is an overview and brief timeline as explained in January 8th, 2024 Memorandum for Record, which was one of the documents released in the case. The All-Domain Resolution Office, AARO, extended multiple invitations to Mr. David Grusch for the purpose of conducting an oral history interview in support of the congressionally directed historical record report. Invitations, both direct and through intermediaries, to interview Mr. Grusch regarding his claimed knowledge of U.S. government's possession of extraterrestrial material and reverse engineering programs were met with negative results. And then they list the attempts made. And here's a timeline. So this does not look good for David Grusch or any of the supporters for David Grusch. And like I said, all we get is excuses from the Grusch camp. All of your excuses fall apart. He was invited several times here. He even scheduled a meeting to be interviewed, and then he no-showed like a coward, right? It's incredible to me. So June 8th, initial contact was made with known associates of Grusch, including Christopher Mellon, who we know is basically the gatekeeper to Grusch. If you want to speak to Grusch, you have to go through Christopher Mellon of the Mellon banking family. Nothing suspicious about that at all, right? Urging them to have him speak with AARO. These efforts were clarified during dialogues between AARO's director and individuals close to Grusch. June 26th, AARO staff reached out directly for Grusch's contact details and extended an interview invitation, which Grusch declined. June 28th. Now remember, this is right after he came out with all of his claims. AARO was right on top of it saying, give us your contact information. We'd like to interview you about your claims. What did Grusch do? He ran from the office in the government who was tasked with investigating the very claims he was making. June 28th, 2023, after Grusch's congressional testimony, AARO sought any verifiable information he might have shared with Congress. June 27th, 2023, further attempts to arrange an interview through another associate of Grusch who was meeting him the following day. October 6th, a secure call was made to encourage Grusch to participate in a formal interview. November 10th, Grusch agreed to be, now remember, this secure call was made to encourage Grusch to participate in a formal interview. And October 23rd, he said he got no emails and no phone calls from AARO or Kirkpatrick. Grusch agreed to be interviewed on November 14th after congressional staff urged his cooperation. That was on November 10th. On November 14th, Grusch failed to appear at the scheduled interview, expressing doubts about AARO's authorization to handle classified information. There's another lie that falls apart. David Grusch has continually ran away from any question he didn't want to answer, saying, oh, I could only answer that in a SCIF or, environment that's safe to release classified information. AARO offered him a SCIF. He declined. November 19th, AARO contacted Grusch again, reiterating their authorization and inviting him to discuss his claims, which he declined. So who's the bad guy here? AARO keeps contacting him, both through his handlers and intermediaries and directly once they got his contact information, and they keep asking him for an interview or for him to show them his so-called evidence. Maybe he has no evidence. Maybe that's why he's running from an office that is tasked with asking for evidence. November 8th, AARO contacted Grusch again, reiterating their authorization and inviting him to discuss his claims, which he declined. January 8th, AARO provided additional documentation to address Grusch's concerns about confidentiality and classification handling, maintaining a standing invitation for an interview. And here, there's an email sent by, I suppose, Kirkpatrick or one of the representatives of AARO who was going to a meeting with David Grusch. And it says, I've been waiting in the lobby for over 30 minutes. Are you showing up? As noted, John says in the above email, who released the records, there was a scheduled meeting with Grusch after he finally agreed to meet. However, he never showed up and seemingly even left them waiting in the lobby at the agreed meeting time and location. He says, thank you. I apologize for the confusion this morning about my whereabouts. I should have been more clear in my email on Monday. Grusch later apologized in an email, but alluded to his no-show being tied to what he felt were unanswered questions. So again, with the excuses, all we're getting from David Grusch is excuses. This is a whistleblower. Here's his chance to blow the whistle. Hey, we've got a letter from the Department of Defense, essentially a permission slip. Plus, you're going through the whistleblower process in the NDAA. You've got all the protection in the world to blow that whistle, David Grusch. What did he do? He evaded. He ran from this office that he should have been spilling the beans to. After the timeline was outlined, the memorandum ended with, during interactions between AARO and Mr. Grusch from November 2023 to January 2024, it became evident that Mr. Grusch had no intention of providing AARO with information regarding his claims. Why would you call yourself a whistleblower and then refuse to blow the whistle to the agency who is tasked with investigating the very claims that you are making? Could it be that you have no evidence? Maybe that's it. But the memorandum outlining the timeline of contact attempts was not the full extent of the release. Numerous emails and text message exchanges were provided to support the above timeline. One example of the later were text message exchanges between Christopher Mellon, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of AARO at the time they were written, on an encrypted text message system known as Signal. It's funny, these intelligence guys. I think it's interesting that they're communicating through Signal. And I also think it's interesting that Mellon probably never thought that these messages would ever get out. These messages reveal Mellon attempting to mediate between Grusch and AARO to clarify misunderstandings about AARO's legal capacities. Mellon's texts are in gray, white, and Kirkpatrick is in blue, white. I spoke with Dave, and his first question was, why hadn't I got all the info from the ICIG? It's there and fully documented to include confirmation of the program is real and active, cleared insiders. And Kirkpatrick says the Department of Justice has to release it since it's part of a criminal investigation. They haven't yet. He needs to come tell us separate from his criminal complaint. And then Mellon says he obviously doesn't have to do that. And he even said, how do I know Sean is not the target of the ongoing criminal investigation? However, that being said, explained your request regarding having his attorney contact and suggested he do so to show full cooperation. He said that if you can provide OGC's contact info, he'll pass it on to his attorney. By the way, he also said his claim about contacting you dates to a conversation the two of you had many months ago on a Tandberg system, and that you didn't follow up after the call. I'm not trying to adjudicate that issue, just telling you what he said. Apparently, that is what his statement was relating to. So if you could provide OGC email or phone number, I'll get that to Dave right away, and hopefully his attorney will promptly contact OGC. And Kirkpatrick says all of that is both absurd and false. I have had a conversation with him for years. If he wants this brought out and investigated, then yes, obviously, he does have to. His continued refusal to speak to us only hurts his case. I've contacted Congressional OGC to reach out to him so they can explain the law. Haven't had a conversation for years. Through Mellon, writes John from the Black Vault, Grusch was asking why AARO just did not get all their information from the Inspector General's office. As Kirkpatrick then explained, due to the criminal investigation aspect of the material, they would not have access to it until the intelligence community decided to release it. However, Kirkpatrick explained that Grusch still was able to give his testimony and evidence to AARO directly outside of the criminal investigation. Kirkpatrick labels Grusch's assertions in Mellon's response to him as absurd and false during the exchange. So this is really interesting. Another exchange showed how Kirkpatrick told Mellon he was defending and adjudicating, and Mellon was undermining the very organization he purported to help establish for this purpose. Mellon's response was that he never claimed Grusch's claims were accurate. Isn't that interesting? Mellon never claimed that Grusch's claims were accurate, but he felt Grusch was sincere and credible. His full response is above. Note, the message appears to have been cut off. An appeal has been filed for the rest of it under read more link shown in the screenshot. Good for John. He's even going after. He's trying to get more on this. The exchange's release began on June 11th and lasted until June 13th. Another exchange was at an unknown date, relaying AARO's position that, quote, by law, AARO may receive all UAP-related information, including any classified national security information involving military, intelligence, and intelligence-related activities at all levels of classification, regardless of any restrictive access controls, special access programs, or compartmentalized access programs. So what we essentially have here is David Grusch is making excuses for why he can't give his evidence to AARO. And AARO, to their credit, is calling his bluff, saying they have the legal authority to hear anything, regardless of a classified, top secret, special access program. We have permission to hear anything. You have a permission slip issued from the Department of Defense to tell us anything, classified or otherwise, and there'll be no, concerns over that. So, but what we get is excuses. That's what we get, excuses. Mellon agreed to pass that on to Grusch's attorney. Then he stated he would seek to avoid further communication unless it is something that seems extraordinary, or if likely, Kirkpatrick initiate no further communication between Mellon and Kirkpatrick was released. And then John talks about the document, which we shared with you earlier. This is the document that is a complete and total permission slip. Yeah, isn't this interesting, right? Here's another document. This is a document about his Foya request, so I apologize. Yeah, and this is the memorandum that shows all of these attempts that AARO made to get David Grusch to come in and show them his evidence. Great. So what we have is a man that has no evidence. There can be no other explanation. The excuses fall apart. The Department of Defense literally gives him a permission slip, and he's still making excuses for why he can't talk to AARO. Maybe he can't talk to AARO because he knows that AARO is going to call his bluff, and evidence-free stories may cut it on News Nation, but they're not going to cut it with real investigators. And AARO was busting to shit all of Grusch's so-called whistleblowers before him. Not a coincidence that Grusch refused, evaded every attempt that AARO made for him to show his evidence. This is not looking good. Not a good day to be a UFO cult member. You're going to have to do an awful lot of mental gymnastics, but don't worry, people are still making excuses, right? And I was just blocked by one of those people. Thanks, you asshole. I was going to share your tweet and everything. Somebody earlier was making all kinds of claims, and then now they blocked me on Twitter, right? You got to love it. Run. Debunkers beware. How about believers beware? We have facts and evidence on our side, and you have excuses and stories without any empirical evidence whatsoever. So no surprise to me that person blocked me. I wanted to share this as well because Christopher Mellon responded to John from the Black Vault's piece. He says, I don't give out people's contact info without their consent, but I told Sean I would be happy to convey his request to Dave. My recollection is that Dave was going to consult his attorney and proceed from there. Dave has an excellent attorney, so if he would, and here comes more excuses. Here comes more excuses, losers. So if he was advised by counsel not to meet with AARO or others, I certainly don't blame him. So now you're going to blame the lawyer? I was not in a position to judge the legal arguments and issues involving conflicting intelligence community, Inspector General, Department of Justice, and AARO jurisdiction and claims. I was simply trying to facilitate communications in the hopes of helping the congressionally mandated investigation. Yeah. People are still claiming they're not cleared to hear what he has to say. Look at this. This person just said, that's about what I thought. They probably are not cleared to hear what he has to say. No, you dummies. AARO is cleared to hear everything and anything. Those excuses fall apart. Now, Christopher Mellon, doesn't he have another techno scam to run or something? Didn't he have enough money from the Mellon banking family? Why was he involved in a techno scam promising people spaceships and standing up in front of balloons claiming they're alien spaceships, right? Oh, you got to love it. And it has been revealed that Christopher Mellon is essentially David Grusch's handler. David Grusch is not allowed to give an interview unless Christopher Mellon says so. So AARO essentially goes to his handler and says, we want to talk to him. Oh, I can't give out his contact information. You can't ask Dave Grusch if he can give it to AARO? And wouldn't a whistleblower want his contact information to be given to the office in the government that is here to investigate it? Like, none of this makes any sense. It's just so childish and stupid, right? I always equate it to this. This is exactly like a child, a 5-year-old child on a playground going, I got a laser gun, guys. And the other children on the playground said, great, show us the laser gun. And then the 5-year-old makes up some ridiculous excuses for why he can't show the laser gun he claims to have. That's how childish and stupid all of this is. Now, earlier, I do want to clear up some confusion in fairness to Mr. Grusch, because immediately when these documents were released, people started saying that David Grusch lied in public statements. And I'm going to share my screen. We can see from the timeline that technically he didn't lie. Here's News Nation. But here's the thing. So on October 23rd, David Grusch claims that he never got any emails or phone calls from AARO, even though there's a secure call on October 6th. Okay. But see, this is where I think the manipulation comes in, right? Well, technically, he only went to my handler, Christopher Mellon, and reached out to other people close to me. Sean Kirkpatrick only went to my friends. I didn't get a direct call or email from him. So now I can call him a liar. When David Grusch made this statement, he knew that Sean Kirkpatrick and the AARO office were reaching out to his handlers and friends and people close to him, asking for his contact info, asking to have them tell him to contact their office, asking him to come in for an interview. We've seen the timeline, but now David Grusch is going to call Kirkpatrick a liar for saying that he reached out to contact Dave Grusch.
There's sort of this sense among some whistleblowers, Grusch included, that, AARO is trying to sort of cover up what happened. And this quote here is interesting. Basically, Dr. Kirkpatrick today said that he had tried reaching out to UFO whistleblower David Grusch several times to talk to him recently and didn't get a response. David Grusch sent me that text message and said, I have 0 emails or calls from them. That is a lie. So David Grusch says, despite what the director said in the briefing, that has not happened. There's sort of this sense among some whistleblowers.
Oh, sorry. So isn't that interesting? Dave Grusch is aware that when Kirkpatrick makes a statement that he's trying to contact Dave Grusch and have him come in for an interview, Dave Grusch, I think that's a lie. People can argue with me. Well, technically, he didn't get the first email from Kirkpatrick until after he made that statement. He knew that that AARO was contacting Christopher Mellon back in June, trying to get him to come in. And he's going to say, oh, let's figure out how we can call Kirkpatrick a liar and technically not be lying ourselves. All right, so he reached out to all my friends, right? And my handler, who decides who I'm allowed to talk to or not, Christopher Mellon, right? And they started calling my friends and asking for my contact info as far back as June, but it's October 23rd, and technically I haven't gotten an actual phone call from Kirkpatrick. Technically, since my handler wouldn't give my contact information to Kirkpatrick and AARO, technically I haven't gotten an email. Technically, I haven't gotten a phone call. So I'll just call Kirkpatrick a liar when he says that he's been trying to contact me. What do we think? Did Grusch lie here? Or is this a careful manipulation of available data in order to disparage one of your critics? Interestingly, also in these exchanges, these text messages, there's some mention that there is bad blood between Kirkpatrick and Grusch that goes back to 2015. That's interesting. We're going to take a moment to thank some kind and generous benefactors here. We want to thank BB Phil for a kind and generous £2.49, who says, yeah, I think Grusch isn't a passive pawn anymore. Well, I can't say that I disagree with you. I still think that Mr. Grusch was manipulated by these spooky hustlers who've been selling the same evidence-free fake stories with no evidence for decades now. And he's been manipulated by them so that they can continue their false narrative, faith-based belief system that relies on no evidence, just stories. But thank you for your kindness, and of course for helping us to
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Right, and we've got another kind and generous benefactor, Thomas Robinson, with a kind and generous £1.99 super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. For those unaware, we read every single super chat.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
We read every single super chat every show. We thank everybody sending a PayPal pledge. Instructions to do that are in the description of the video. So I just am, sort of blown away by this. And, the situation with Dave Grusch saying I have 0 emails or calls from them, that is a lie. Well, when he got that first email, shouldn't he have went back to News Nation and said, oh, okay, they did try to contact me through my friends, and now I've gotten an email from them. So Kirkpatrick was telling the truth when he said that he's been trying to contact me. No, of course not, because these people never admit when they get caught in lies. Never admit it. That's the first rule of the UFO grift. Never admit it. When you get caught lying or selling a fake story, blame the men in black, right? So I believe that this David Grusch story is the biggest bluff in UFO and alien history. This has been a year-long bluff. Oh, no, the government definitely has alien bodies. Great, show us the evidence. Well, I can't. All they've given us is excuses for almost a year now. It all falls apart. Yes, Swink McLeod says it's a careful manipulation of wording. I believe that is 100% true. Yes, Garaji says the same thing. This is how the UFO scam works. They carefully manipulate available data. Garaji, careful manipulation of available data. Yeah. Yeah, and Chuck Bam mentions a book and a movie deal, right? Of course. Look at how Travis Walton benefited from his UFO tales. When is Corbell going to make a Grusch documentary? So we'll take comments and questions from the live chat. I don't have very much more to share with you, except to sort of try to bookend things here. What I will say is that from the beginning of this story, all people critical of the story have done is ask for evidence. And at every turn, what we've gotten is excuses, obfuscation, and basically deceptions and lies for why there's no evidence. Is it so crazy to say if you're going to stand up in front of Congress and claim that the government has alien spacecraft and alien bodies, you show your cards? So interesting that the government, I think the government is so sick of some of these conspiracy people that they finally decided we're going to start calling the bluff on these people. Do whatever you have to do, investigate their claims, rip apart the falsehoods and report that back to the American people. And by the way, they did that in the first AARO historical report. And I've been told by a great source that the next one is going to be even more damaged. The next AARO report is going to be even more damaging to these so-called spooky hustlers who sell these evidence-free stories. And let's also take a moment to recognize, understand, and realize that since Dave Grusch came out with his original claims, all of his UFO buddies have made collectively hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from his evidence-free stories. Is that not a problem? Does anybody not look upon people making hundreds of thousands of dollars from evidence-free stories and think maybe they have a motive to push these false narratives, right? And look at the careful manipulation of wording and data to essentially sell us this lie. Oh, the intelligence community inspector general found his claims to be urgent and credible. That was a lie. They were manipulating things. He said urgent and credible about his complaints of waste, fraud, abuse, and perhaps reprisal. Let's take that and just apply it to Dave Grusch's alien claims so people think that the stories are true. This has been a masterful grift, in my opinion. The fact that these clowns, these UFO clowns like Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Ross Coulthart, all of which have been caught selling completely and totally fake alien and UFO stories before, were able to get this idiot up onto the stage of Congress to tell these stories so that they could profit. It is one of the best UFO grifts I have ever seen. The fact that they were able to keep this shit show fake story with no evidence going for almost a year now, it's truly impressive. It's award worthy. We want to thank High Speed Chase. Which Teletubby do you think David Grusch looks like? I think he looks like the one with the tree on his head. I think he looks like the baby, the son, because he's bald. Remember? I remember Teletubbies because I had children around the time that Teletubbies was very popular. But we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show, High Speed Chase, and thanks for being a member.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right, we've got another kind and generous benefactor. Go Kick Rocks, 88. You're killing it. Keep at it. Good discussion for your Space Monday. Let's see what the aftermath is over the weekend. Yeah, I would show a graphic, but I'm not allowed. You got to love women, ladies and gentlemen. So for those unaware, everybody's been asking me to do spaces. And because of my vision situation, I've said yesterday, and I mean this, I have a hard enough time running this show on a big computer screen. I really tried, and I just couldn't. I can't work that tiny phone screen to run the spaces myself. So I knew that Jess knows a great deal about spaces. She's always in them. She's run some, So I reached out to her for help and said, how about you run the spaces and co-host it with me? And she said, great. So I said, great. Send me a picture so that I'll make a graphic for this. She sends me a picture. I said, okay, I'm going to use this picture. Okay. And she says, yes, I made the graphic. Then she changed her mind. And I'm not allowed to show the graphic until I change her picture. Goddamn woman. Right? Yeah, that's a woman for you. How can I make this man's life harder? I'm just busting your balls. I'm looking forward to these spaces. So for those unaware, every Monday night at 9 p.m., I'm going to do a Twitter Spaces, and we're going to try to broadcast it here, even if it's janky. The only way that I have found to do that so far is to just put my phone right in front of the microphone and put it on speakerphone. I don't know if that's going to work, but we're going to try to kill two birds with one stone and both do a space, which will be co-hosted by Go Kick Rocks 88 here, Jess, and also we're going to broadcast it to our distribution platform and our audio podcast platform. But thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We appreciate you. Thanks for appreciating us, Jess.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Yeah, so, and I also think that, you know, it'll be good to have additional co-hosts. I never had a co-host before. Jess is going to do that. And really, to be very honest, I couldn't do it without somebody like Jess pushing the buttons for me. I just can't work the tiny phone screen. And by the way, I have a big honking Android phone. It's one of the bigger Android screens. I still can't work this shit, you know? So I think it'd be good if we, you know, Jess will do the button pushing and focus, and I can just focus on the you know, listening and responding to people in the spaces. Chuck Bam says, use this one. Yes, post it. Yeah. No, you can't. You can't use that one. This is a true statement. Garaji says, every single great man that has ever come along had a little woman always telling him he's wrong. Kinky Friedman. That's the truth. Stephanie from the Willows is here. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. I tried to sit on your space, but it was too woo for me. I had to get out of it. It was just a little too woo. Stephanie used to do, we used to have tarot card readings here once in a while from Stephanie. She's running spaces now. Johnny Depp is the first man ever to win an argument with a woman. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think it was last night or maybe the night before. I don't know. One of those spaces. I was listening. William Runner, we need to all chip in and get Stephen a better Wi-Fi connection. Why? I don't think there's anything wrong with the Wi-Fi here. I just ran, I just used a better Wi-Fi adapter on this PC. I'm getting 80 megabits per second download. Hold on, I'm running a speed test right now. 80 megabit a second download. Oh, wow, that's weird. Yeah, the upload speed is not very good tonight. Wow, yesterday it was like 50, now it's like 20. So I don't know what's going on with that. I apologize if there's any technical issues. Nolan looks like a Teletubby after being waxed. Well, that's pretty gross. Dime Bar says, Congress report on Grusch. Grusch is the equivalent of thrush at an orgy. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, Garaji says, it's almost like all the grifters conspired and planned in advance. I believe that they... Oh, yeah, and there's another thing that I want to put on the record here. Does anybody remember before Grusch even came out, we had people like Eric Davis and other wackadoos saying, oh, next year is going to be a big year because this whistleblower is coming forward and he's going to name the program names. He's going to give the locations where the alien spaceships are being stored and back engineered. He's going to name the people in the crash retrieval programs. Inevitably, these UFO con artists, grifter, scammers always overpromise and underdeliver. What we were promised is that a whistleblower was going to come forward and again name names, name the program names, show the locations where the alien spaceships are being stored or whatever. That's what we were promised, right? What do we get? We get Grusch making excuses for why he can't do those things that everybody said he was going to. The office at AARO is authorized to hear all of that. If that information is real, he can go to them and tell them program names. He could go to them and tell them locations where the alien spaceships are. He could tell them where they got the bodies in the freezers. But he won't. Or he can't. What we get is excuses. He can, he won't. Isn't that interesting? That Mr. Grusch touted as being the person to name all these programs and all this. No, what happened is that the UFO Con Squad, as is usually the case, they overpromised. And when you overpromise, you inevitably underdeliver. And that leads to the big letdown. So suck that nothing burger, true believers. And by the way, I am, just let's put something else on the record here and let me be clear. I have no problem with people who disagree with me or believe that these things are all true and real. I guess I just have a problem with the zealots who refuse, when shown evidence like this so-called whistleblower, instead of blowing the whistle where he's appropriately supposed to do it, is running like hell away from the office that he's supposed to do that with. I don't get people ignoring that evidence. Spooky with the kind and generous $2 says, here, take some Grusch money. I could use some Grusch money. Yes, thank you. It's like hush money, but different. Thank you, Spooky, for kind and generous £2 and helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
But you shouldn't do that because I think I owe you $10 or something. Oh, the thumbnail. Yeah, good. Thanks for reminding me. So for those unaware, I have long been talking about the dangers of some of these stories and storytellers. People think it's all harmless fun. That is until somebody stabs their father to death on a Twitter live stream because they got too far down the alien and UFO rabbit hole. So we have this series of stories. It's a whole series now. It's called Murder in UFO Land. And I'm happy to say, first of all, let me just make sure that I say this. I love and hate this Murder in UFO Land series. It's so difficult. In order to get this story, I had to get the original interrogation tapes of the murderer because I wanted to broadcast them on our broadcast. Anyway, these stories take forever to put together, but I'm happy to say that episode 3, part 3 of Murder in UFO Land will be here. It's probably going to be the next show that we do, which is next week. Sherry Shriner and the Reptilian Apocalypse Cult. This is another one of those times, friends, when somebody got too far down the UFO and alien rabbit hole and ended up murdering someone. This, of course, is a problem. And this series, Murder in UFO Land, I think really we're doing a public service by highlighting there's real dangers in these. People think, like I said, oh, it's just harmless fun, aliens, UFOs. No, it's not harmless. People have been murdered over people selling false conspiracy theories and evidence-free, fantasies about aliens and UFOs. So next week, and by the way, thanks, Spooky. I had Spooky do the thumbnail because we're going to have a playlist on our YouTube channel. And if I do a shoddy thumbnail after the first 2 were the good thumbnails from Spooky, it's going to look weird. So my thanks to Spooky who did that so that things will match. I guess and I'm producing 2 more episodes. We'll at least have 5 parts in this series. Very proud of this series because of the level of research and work that needs to be done to generate these. This is not just sharing a few things from Twitter or talking over somebody's video. I had to get the original interview tapes of this woman who murdered her boyfriend and the interrogation tapes. So we had to file for those with the police in Mount Pocono. And interestingly, this story took place just 10 miles from my cabin in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. This occurred in a place called Mount Pocono, which is the town right next to the town that my cabin is in. So interesting. And I did go there. I went to some local bars and sort of asked around if anybody knew this woman or could tell me anything about that murder. and I didn't get anywhere with that. But I don't regret putting boots on the ground and trying to get some of that. So next week, we will certainly be putting forth part 3 of our Murder in UFO Land series. We want to thank William Runner with a kind and generous $20 super chat. Very, very generous and kind of you. Thank you, longtime show supporter, William Runner, who says, thanks for your hard work and excellent content dealing with these grifters. Yeah, thank you for your kindness, generosity. William Runner has been a longtime show supporter. Thank you so much for appreciating us. We certainly appreciate you, especially when you're helping us too.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Yes, my friends, we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. Before I forget, I'm going to check in with the PayPal pledges. For those unaware, besides the super chats, which we read every single one, every single night, you can also send a PayPal pledge and give us some support that way. And I encourage people, especially if you're going to send a big, donation, like 50 or $100, send it through PayPal because they only take a couple percent. And YouTube, unfortunately for the super chats, charges 30%. It's quite a Vic to be paying. We want to thank Maria for a kind and generous $100 PayPal pledge, who says, I have really enjoyed some of the latest shows. Can't wait to see more. Keep it up, Stephen. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. It is much, much appreciated. Very kind. Maria is a longtime show supporter, always throwing a couple of bucks in our PayPal. We want to take a moment to thank you, kind and generous benefactors on Patreon or on that are YouTube channel members. By the way, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because people keep buying gifting memberships. And for those unaware, if you are subscribed but not yet a member and somebody gifts memberships, YouTube randomly distributes those gifted memberships to people who are subscribers but not yet members. And for those unaware, our Patreon is as little as $1 a month. You set whatever amount you want. And the YouTube channel membership is $5 a month. You get a couple extra goodies. I hate putting things behind a paywall. By the way, it's been a while since I've said this. All of my content is now and will forever be free. If you can't afford the $1 or the $5, just drop me an email at trueseekershow@gmail.com. I maintain a list of people. And listen, you don't need to tell me your life story or anything personal. Just say, hey, add me to the freebie list or whatever. Hey, I'm having a tough time. I'd like the extra goodies. And then I take your email address, and every time I post to Patreon or to the YouTube channel member section, I send it to this list of people that are having a tough time. I know the economy is terrible right now, which is why I'm begging on the internet. Brother, can you spare $1, right? But if you can't, I want you to know I would never withhold anything from somebody because they didn't give me $1, right? I feel like that. Everybody's ever see that movie Better Off Dead? It was one of my favorite movies growing up. And the paper boy, $2. I want my $2. Like, I don't want to be so greedy. So if you're having a tough time, it's not an issue. Just send me an email. And we have one final praise to cash thank you to all of our kind and generous benefactors, you super chatters, you Patreon supporters, you YouTube channel members, you PayPal pledgers, you Twitch subscribers, anybody supporting us. We appreciate you. Thanks for appreciating us.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, I've got a little more time to share with you guys, so we'll take comments and questions. Comments and questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. It really, really does help. Wise Monkey, yes, I would tend to agree with you. That guy could spin anything. Grusch could murder somebody tomorrow, God forbid, and that guy Merrick could spin it as a good thing for disclosure somehow. Wise Monkey says, who is annoying you the most at the moment, UFO land? Merrick is at the top of my leaderboard at the moment. Yeah, I got to say, he really is, right? He really, that the spin, for those unaware, the true believers are out there and Grusch supporters are out there trying to spin these documents as somehow good news for David Grusch and the disclosure narrative. That's false. No, it isn't good news. America's a garbage peddler. NCC is asking, how many latex masks do you own? Well, you better hope my wife's not watching this. Probably hundreds. I've got some chests full of some that I haven't used that I made a long time ago in my shed at the cabin. Like that's where I hide my really, that's where I hide them. But I've got more than 100 here. I don't know. I've got boxes and boxes and boxes. I've got creature masks. I've got masks I've made to do some of these characters on the show. I don't know. I've always been interested in masks and making masks since I was a child and sort of special effects. But I'm so, old school. I really don't like CGI. You know what I liked back when they made monsters? They looked better. CGI looks like CGI. It looks like a cartoon to me. I'm sure it will improve and it's getting better. But I like practical effects like masks. But thank you for the question. So any more questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. I had a really funny musical guest, and now, of course, I can't find. Oh, yeah, here. I forgot to. I want somebody to tell me the story behind this song. For those unaware, our musical guest tonight is a funny song from the Sticky Sweethearts called I Glued My Balls to My Butthole Again. And I tried, of course, I didn't, to be fair, I did not try very hard. But I tried to figure out, like, where did that song, is that really a real vinyl? A record that somebody made? I glued my balls to my butthole again? Like, that's crazy, especially if it's as period correct as it sounds. I don't really get it. Oh, man. 1 second here. Let me load that up. I haven't added it to my stream deck here. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I find something weird on the internet that just amuses me way much more than it should, And this is one of those times. And we used to have a musical guest for every show. And I would get like underground bands and stuff to give me permission to play their videos or play their music and make a video, quick video, so that I could share their songs. This one is a little different and bizarre. If anybody knows the story behind this song, and if this is just a spoof or if this is a real album, if this really was pressed to vinyl, I would be impressed. And again, it's called I Glued My Balls to My Butthole Again. So the show's not over. We're just going to do this musical guest so I can take a quick break. Then I'm going to take comments and questions from the live chat. I'll be right back, friends. Enjoy our musical guest. This one's truly bizarre. I got my ball. Well, that one's something else. I'm assuming that is a spoof that somebody made in more modern times, because I doubt that the F-bomb would have been allowed to be pressed to vinyl back in the 50s or 60s. But what do you know? Stormcrow says, can't take a dump. It's quite catchy. Yeah. And somebody else said again, as if you do that once and you still do it again. Chuck Bam says parody song. Yeah, I'm sure that it is. But if anybody knows the story behind it, be sure to email me. JD with an interesting point. Greenwald article says on June 28th, 2023, AARO tried contacting Grusch about his testimony to Congress, yet he didn't testify until July 26th. Why this inaccuracy? Well, it was announced a month prior that he would be testifying before Congress, and they scheduled the hearing. So I've had several people ask me this, and I could be incorrect here. I'm just putting that out there. But my understanding is that as soon as it was announced that Grusch would be testifying before Congress, that AARO contacted Grusch about his testimony to Congress. That's my understanding. Everybody is free to correct me if I am wrong. If I have a chance, maybe I'll send an email to John from the Black Vault and ask for his thoughts, because that is, that's definitely a problem, right? Did he say shame on glue? Says Talmud. Thanks for being a member. Yeah, I thought I heard shame on Lou. Maybe. Anyway, shame on glue. Yeah, Yes. So comments or questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. Talmud says instant classic. Yes, definitely. Wise Monkey says only one strike reported at an air base in Iran. Oh, that's interesting. Is the war drum still being beaten here? You know, every day I just pray for peace. I hope people will put their weapons down and try to negotiate some solution. Stormcrow says Iran's semi-official Fars news agency has reported explosions in Isfahan province. I think I said that correct, right? Yeah. So I guess the war rages on. You know, it's tit for tat. You know, apparently Israel attacked some Iranian generals and killed them in Damascus at their consulate. So then Iran fired back with all those missiles and drones strikes that was wildly ineffectual. And I suppose last I heard, Israel claimed that they would retaliate against Iran for that attack at a time of their choosing. Oh, geez, God. Yeah, so that the war in the Middle East is escalating. According to Spooky, Israel just bombed targets in 3 countries. Well, that's wild. Yeah, shame on Blue. Yeah, I don't know. I just pray for peace. Now this conflict is going to result in a wider conflict. It's not just Israel and Palestine. Now it's going to be Israel, Palestine, Syria, Iran. You know, unfortunately for the Israelis, they have enemies all surrounding them. I don't know. You know, that's a complicated situation. And, you know, people ask me what I think about it. The first thing I think is we don't talk about politics. People come here for escape from reality, not, you know, to hear my political thoughts. I just pray for peace. That's my thoughts on the whole thing. I pray for peace. Chris Johansson says, at my sour age, I hope they press the button. God forbid, you know. What a lot of people don't realize, too, is that Israel has over, I believe they have 100 nuclear weapons. So if these countries really get aggressive in attacking Israel, there could be a nuclear conflict. And that certainly wouldn't be very good, in my opinion. It wouldn't be very good for anyone, right? I just don't get it. Like I said, all I do is pray for peace. Every day when I say my prayers, I pray that people will put their weapons down and negotiate some peace settlement. I don't care if it's 1 state, 2 state, as long as there's peace. You know, but this has been a battle that has been raging for a long, long time. No end in sight, apparently. Lucy Day, thanks for being a member, says, likewise here. I think the vast majority only want peace. Well, that's interesting, Lucy Day. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And I also just want to put something else on the record. 1 second here. All right, so for those unaware, there is a YouTube channel called UAM TV that hosts all of these scammer grifters. We've got, you know, they're interviewing Linda Moulton Howe and David Adair and all of these people. And UAM TV apparently took exception to my fair use of their video. They're threatening me with a copyright claim or strike. They say, hey, you took our video from UAMN TV. And then they timestamped every timestamp that I used. 34 seconds, 26 seconds, 16 seconds, 0 seconds. I don't know what that's about. Or they meant 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 49 seconds. They actually went through and counted how many seconds of their video that I used. Each time I stopped it, I suppose. And they said total duration, 2,746 seconds, 45 minutes and 46 seconds. You think that's fair use? Yes, I do. And I'll put it on the record. And just to let UAMN TV know, people people are free to file whatever they're going to file. I'm not taking my video down. And I'm not doing that because that was clear-cut fair use. I stopped the video every few minutes or whatever, and I talked over it. It's a transformative work. No one could possibly confuse their original video for my video. It's a complete transformative work. I verbally cited fair use before I began to use those clips. In a text blinker on the bottom of the screen, gave my fair use arguments while I played the video. And let me see if I can get that up just so that I can read it correctly. I almost have this button memorized, the fair use. So this was playing on the bottom of the screen while I used that video under fair use. This is transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the videos we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and is allowable by law. They can copyright claim me or strike me, whatever they're going to do, but they should be aware that I have very strong legal defense letters for YouTube for fair use. And if they copyright claim me, I will fight it 100% in court if necessary. They can sue me for copyright infringement in my home state of Pennsylvania. Hope you like cheesesteaks and pretzels, right? I'll buy you some cheesesteaks and pretzels if you take me to court. It's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, that YouTube channel is pushing 100% provably fake people selling 100% provably fake stories. You will not intimidate a real reporter from using your material under fair use to educate people. Not gonna happen, not on my watch. And just so they're aware, I think we're up to 29 times now. 29 times somebody has falsely copyright claimed or struck my channel. And all 29 times I file the same letters that I'm going to file if they do this, and I win. And what this UAM TV should be aware of is if you falsely copyright strike my channel and I vigorously legally defend myself, YouTube makes a decision, and if they find that I'm correct in my assertion that that was fair use, and certainly they're going to, I'm telling you they're going to, then your channel will get a strike. So do what you're going to do. I'm not going to be threatened, intimidated, or harassed into silence or not covering the wackadoos that you put on your channel. It is what it is, friends, you know. Hank McGurk says, totally transformative, nothing like the original, not in spirit. Yeah. Yeah. Dimebar says, we didn't want to watch his shite, but we had to rip the crap out of it. Yeah, Spooky was here at my home. I took Spooky for a cheesesteak. Cheesesteaks were good. 124 News in English on YouTube will have information on this strike. Yeah, no different than a film critic. Yeah. Yeah, Talmud says that's how fair use works. Stephen paused it many times and we all had a discussion. Yeah, and even sharing the user comments on the screen while we were going through it makes it a transformative work. My fair use arguments are very, very hard to overcome. Someday somebody might beat me. You know, I don't want to get arrogant. We've won, like, usually somebody files a claim, not a strike. And they sort of request we take our video down. And then I say, no, that's fair use. Or they file the claim and try to get our revenue for producing the video since we use theirs video somehow in the production of our video. And I say, no, fair use defense letter from my very good lawyers. And we've won every single one. But I don't want to get arrogant. Somebody may beat us. I'm fully aware of what you need to do to support a fair use defense. And we do all those things. I speak the fair use warning verbally. We put it on a text thing. You know, I don't know what more they want. Some people just, they don't want you using their material because we made them look like ass clowns. That's what this is about. They don't like it when you use the video that they produced and it makes them look like ass clowns. And we made them look like clowns. So I guess they're going to do what they're going to do. Israel missiles have hit a site in Iran. ABC's news reported late on Thursday, citing a U.S. official days after Iran launched a drone strike in Israel in response to attack on the Iranian embassy. Wow. Dime Bar says, ooh, Alphonse is Pennsylvania and does trademark and copyright. I hope that these clowns file a baseless claim and they will be destroyed with legal bills. And as a bonus, the lawyer may lose his bar card. Yeah, I really don't know. I've got some of those frozen cheesesteak meats in the freezer. They come out pretty good. Trolly, troll, troll. Yeah, my wife makes cheesesteaks here. Tomorrow is cheeseburger and French fry night, which I'm looking forward to. There's two meals that I really look forward to here. It's cheeseburger night and cheesesteak night. My wife does the cheesesteak night. I do the cheeseburger night on the grill. We'll probably have hamburgers and hot dogs. It's good dinner. What kind of pretzels? Soft pretzels. Yeah, the hot and soft type. With mustard, please. I grew up on soft pretzels. And especially being a starving artist, soft pretzels are great because you could get a bag of pretzels like that for $1 back in the day when I was truly a starving artist, Amy. So even as long as you had $1, you at least wouldn't be hungry that day because those pretzels fill you up, right? They're, yeah. Trolly troll, just make sure you have good rolls to go with it. Yeah, absolutely, we do. Yeah, those are great. Yeah, so listen, we've done our due diligence. I am headed to the cabin finally for once this weekend. There's supposed to be good weather. M. Stone says, stand on business, Stephen. You got all the smoke contained. I guess. Throw in some pierogies. Yes, pierogies, definitely. I make homemade pierogies, but a lot of times we just use those Marie's. I think they're the frozen ones. Yeah, I grew up on pierogies and pretzels, being a Philadelphia Polak, right? Elmer Boilerhouse says Wilcock has Philly cheese bison steaks. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yes, Patty says enjoy your time off. Yes, so I got my screws and my nails and I got everything that I need for this weekend. For those unaware, I'm building a covered porch roof over the stone patio that I built last year. And soon the porch will have soon the cabin will have a front porch. Every good cabin needs a front porch and some rocking chairs, in my opinion. And we're going to have them soon. Fish paste in a tube. Not a fan of that. No. Wilcock puts Frumunda cheese in his steak sandwiches. I don't know. Yoshi says, wish I could do DIY. I don't know if you're talking about the cabin or making your own cheesesteaks. Both are within your capability. Sometimes you just got to reach for it, Yoshi. Should I write a comedy drama about a new age speaker called Richard Michael, who meets a new speaker called Barry Bood, who ruins his career? I think that's a carefully veiled, yeah, I think it should. I'm all for anybody doing artistic and creative things, regardless. And yeah, Patty mentioned enjoying my time off. So I'm going to the cabin, and we're finally going to have good weather there, I think. It's supposed to rain tomorrow night, but I don't care about rain when it's dark when I get there. Saturday and Sunday, it will be 55 and cloudy, I believe, or 52 and cloudy. It keeps changing. I'm looking forward to getting some progress done. I didn't go to the cabin last week, and when I go 2 weeks without getting there, I get antsy. Pathfinder asking, any Bigfoot sightings around near the cabin? Yes, I have a map of Bigfoot sightings all around the cabin. But most of me, being as skeptical as I am, though, most of me thinks that what people are seeing are black bears. There's a lot of black bears in that area. And so I don't want to discount people's experiences. I haven't seen any Bigfoots, and I've been hiking all around that area, even in some very remote, hard to access mountains. I haven't seen any Bigfoots, but I have seen an awful lot of black bears, and I am extremely careful around black bears. I had a bad encounter with one once. Once a mama bear charged me because I stupidly got between her and her cubs. That's a dumb thing to do. Never get between a mama bear and her cubs. As soon as she like got up on her hind legs and growled at me and came running at me. But I ran, and as soon as she got to where the cubs were and I was going away from her, she calmed down and just sort of walked off with her 3 cubs that I didn't see. It's very dangerous to be around bears in the wilderness. Anything that can kill you in the wilderness, like a mountain lion or a wolf or a coyote, you really, you got to respect. You have to have respect for those animals. You're encroaching on their home, you know. But in any case, I'm going to the cabin. I'm going to be building a porch roof, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Just like every project I've done there, it's kind of like learn as I go. You know, I figure it out. It's complicated because the front wall of the cabin is very uneven because of the cordwood. Like some of the logs stick out this far, and some stick out this far, and so I've got to build sort of a truss along the front of the cabin to hold the roof up. And then the front of the cabin is going to have these huge log posts, which I've already placed. They're big, thick logs that will hold the roof up. I can't tell you, I can't wait to sit on my porch, maybe barbecue some burgers or a steak, and sit on a rocking chair on the porch of my front cabin, which none of that existed a few years ago. So I highly recommend whatever you do. If you got a dream in your heart, like I had this dream in my heart to build a cabin in the woods. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go. And, you know, I learned what I needed to learn, whether it was plumbing, electrical, or carpentry, or how to build a door or whatever, door frame, how to put windows in. Yeah, I highly recommend if you got a dream in your heart, just find a way and just keep making progress towards it. Progress is the key to happiness. As long as you're making progress towards some of your goals, you will be really happy. Go Kick Rock says, my mom has a black bear den in her backyard. She uses a radio during the summer to keep them away from the trash. Yeah. Yeah. My friend calls them trash pandas or trash bears. You know, they do. Do I record the build? It sounds awesome. I started recording the new cabin that I'm building, but I only did pictures. I started recording while I was building the first cabin, but it got too difficult to build thing. You know, it's hard enough trying to build something. But I'm going to do a new cabin series on how to build cabins at the new property where I'll be building a cabin this, I guess, spring, summer, and fall. That's actually a great idea, using a radio to keep them away. Yeah, I have a 12-volt siren, and they don't like loud noise. So if they walk in my yard or something in the cabin, I just blow that siren, and they usually go away. But most of the time, I just go in the cabin and I watch them from inside the cabin. And usually, if a bear's on your property, first of all, yeah, they'll go after your trash cans or any trash, and don't, God forbid, leave any food out. But after that, they kind of, if you don't have food or trash cans out that they can get into, they just kind of saunder through your property and they roll on. And I like seeing them, so I try not to discourage them too much. But it does make me nervous with children around. I will say that when my children are in the cabin yard playing, I have to be right next to them just in case, because there has been a few times where a bear came walking through. I'm like, whoop, let's go get inside the cabin, you know? Do I have a favorite fragrance I wear? No, not really, Yoshi. My wife just buys those things for me. And so I think, especially if you're a married man, let your wife buy whatever fragrance product she prefers, because she's got to smell you, you know? So I don't even know what it's called. My wife buys me the cologne that she prefers that I wear, and pretty much everything else. The shampoo I use, the soap I use, the deodorant I use, you just default to the wife, right? Signaling David Hasselhoff in short pants. Yeah. Yes, Talmud says true. She's got to deal with the smell. Let her pick. I don't know what happened. I became a helpless man so fast because my wife is very, I don't know, she's very maternal. She takes good care of all of us. So it wasn't so long after my wife and I first moved in together that my wife just bought all my clothes and whatever. Just do what they want. Happy wife, happy life, friends, right? Patty says, we have Florida panthers and alligators. Yeah, that's scary. Anything that can kill you, got to be very careful with. So, what can I say, friends? We've done our due diligence. I'm going to get some cabin time in. Whatever. And by the way, we've got 3 replays running at 9 p.m. So every night at 9 p.m. is Truth Seekers time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Whether I'm here or not, I will most likely be in the live chat for those premieres. We have one Friday night at 9 p.m., Saturday night at 9 p.m., and Sunday night at 9 p.m. Look in our video section. They'll be premiering. I will try my very best. Now, sometimes I get busy at the cabin, or like sometimes my neighbor invites me over to his place to hang out, and I think it's rude for me to be in a live chat tapping away while I'm at somebody else's house. So I'm not sure that I'll be in every one, but I will try to be. And I appreciate the support of you people that are showing up every night at 9 p.m., whether we're live or not. And just to be clear to those who have asked, if you see TS Classics in the title or in the thumbnail, yes, that's a replay. If you don't see TS Classics, that's a live show like right now. So anyway, I think we've done our due diligence. It will be interesting to see. I think we're going to hit a year, and Grusch will still have not provided any evidence. By the way, where's that op-ed he promised when he suddenly remembered he did have firsthand knowledge of something? A difficult road ahead for a fake whistleblower. But it kind of makes sense that a fake whistleblower is being put forth by a fake Pentagon UFO program director and the Mellon banking clown who ran the TTSA false narrative and what many have described as a techno scam. Nobody got their money back from TTSA. That's what you need to know about that. So who cares what Christopher Mellon says? And I don't care how much money he has. He literally stood there on a stage and him and his buddies lied to investors to get millions of dollars. Nobody got their money back. Nobody got a spaceship. We didn't get to see any spaceship parts or UFO parts like they promised too. It's a mess. Interesting that the same people that ran that scam are also very, very close to David Grusch. I think that this is all the same people. And when Tom DeLonge failed miserably on Joe Rogan, they pulled him as the front man. They put in Elizondo. Elizondo was the front man for quite some time and a good public speaker. He could speak for 2 hours and say nothing. But then his story started coming crashing down, and people began to get wise that Lou Elizondo lied to everybody, and he never ran a real or official government UFO program. So they pulled him as the front man, and they put in Grusch. I predict they're going to be pulling Grusch soon. They can't keep up this evidence-free story for much longer. And Grusch's story and his web of lies is apparently coming crashing down or unraveling. They're going to need a new front man. So look to see a charismatic UFO whistleblower or alien whistleblower coming forward very, very soon. That's my prediction. Now, I could be wrong, but I've been awfully right about a great number of these things. It's easy to spot the patterns when these people keep doing the same thing to keep the grift going. But in any case, and just to be clear, I don't wish Grusch any ill will. In fact, most of me, especially being the father of a severely autistic child, most of me feels very bad for him. I have sympathy for him, and I think that he's been manipulated into this role by a bunch of UFO profiteering whore scumbags. And that's unfortunate. You know, I just hope that he, you know, who knows? I wish a road to redemption. He may wake up and say, you know, all these people lied to me and made me destroy my career over this shit. And none of them had any evidence, but they all convinced me that it was real and that they had evidence. You know, I, for one, will keep Mr. Grusch in my prayers, and you should too, especially if I'm correct in that he's being manipulated by a bunch of UFO profiteering whores. That's not a good position to be in. They have collectively made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of him. I wonder how much of that he got to keep. Something to think about. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambio.